I help leaders and organizations avoid business disasters.
Now, this relates to something that's known as the pessimism and the optimism bias. As you can see, this picture is ambiguous. On the bottom left, a version of that picture looks more like a young woman. On the bottom right, a version of that picture looks more like an older woman. People who are optimistic would tend to see a younger woman, just because in our culture, youth is associated with positivity. People who are pessimistic tend to see the older woman. There you go. You're laughing because you know it's true. This was actually a big problem for my wife and I, so it mentioned that her influence on me. When we co-founded a nonprofit together in 2014 to popularize the research on decision making, this was a big problem because we had a lot of conflicts, we had a lot of tensions, we had a lot of fights. She tends to, I tend to think that the grass is greener on the other side of the hill, that everything will be wonderful. I'm very optimistic. She tends to think that the grass is yellow on the other side of the hill. Very pessimistic. So we had a lot of conflicts until we figured out a really good way of working together, which I then brought to my clients. And so this was a different example. There was a school district in Rhode Island. This was in 2013, when the school district won a grant from Obama's Race to the Top for $75 million, or not the school district, I'm sorry, the whole of Rhode Island won a grant for $75 million as part of the Race to the Top. And they were trying to figure out, the local school district, how to address the grant, how to get more money, and so on. And they were having a lot of fights between people there, between optimists and pessimists. So the optimists were generating ideas. They were saying, hey, this is what we should do. These are great ideas. Pessimists kept shooting them down, saying, no, that's bad. That's dangerous. Don't do that. And so that was a really bad conflict, a lot of tension. So I was brought in. And what we found was that optimists were perceiving pessimists just as naysayers who wanted to tear them down, whereas pessimists were perceiving optimists as just going off half-cocked and not having good ideas. So that's the perceptions, right? Now, once we figured out how to collaborate well together, the best way of collaborating for pessimists and optimists is to separate the process of decision-making and idea creation. So creation of ideas belongs to optimists, because pessimists are bad at it. They just see all the flaws of their ideas. They're not good at brainstorming. Tends to be the case. So the optimists create the ideas and realize that they're half-baked potatoes and give them all to the pessimists. And then the pessimists finish baking the potatoes and take the few ideas that are really great and make them wonderful. So that school district, that really worked out well for them. They got their numbers up from 2013 and graduation rates to 2015 from 73% to 79%, which was more than twice as much as other Rhode Island school districts at this time, because they learned how to collaborate well together.
I'm Susan Lear. My company is Balance EAP. Gleb presented to the Columbus chapter of the National Association of Women Business Owners. He spoke with us about the pitfalls of decision-making and how we may avoid those. His presentation was interactive and also relevant to the varying sizes of businesses that were represented, whether the solopreneur, the micro-business owner, or the larger business owner. And I was particularly impressed with how he tailored his message to his audience. We're female business owners, and it felt very much like he was talking to us and our experiences.
We contacted Gleb to acquire some insights into how to motivate scientific people to sell themselves. The constant challenge of the business. Engineers don't like to sell. So Gleb used his research-based approach to behavioral psychology to engage us in the conversation that provided several very helpful insights into how we communicate with our engineers. We were using far too much business speak that was not connecting emotionally with our people. For example, we've stopped using the word brand and now use the word reputation, which resonates with scientists. So I have to say that one of the things Gleb said to me when I'm talking about, I'm not an engineer, have never been an engineer, but I work in human resources. And he started talking to me about emotion. My first response was, engineers have emotions? And he went on to teach me that, even engineers, scientists, although they like to think of themselves as rational animals, still, like the rest of us, are driven primarily by emotional thinking and emotional responses to language.
Teresa Trost, Executive Director, Community Shares of Mid-Ohio. I just want to say thank you again for a great session. I will never approach decision-making quite the same. You gave us some wonderful insights on cognitive biases and how they influence our decision. I plan to use your pre-mortem with our staff and with our board, and to continue the research into cognitive biases. Thank you again for giving me the insights that will support my work.
Ohio State University psychologist Gleb Tsipursky's not buying it.
And this is clearly a big PR stunt. It's not really an effective strategy to address discrimination.
The company announced it plans to show videos of company executives and hip-hop star Common.
Helping people see each other fully, completely, respectfully.
And to revisit the history of racial discrimination in the United States. Tsipursky says it's an approach that's not likely to have a lasting impact. He says we are all tribal beings and discrimination is natural.
You need to talk about this as a common problem that all human beings experience, not something to be blameworthy or shame. This is a common problem. We all experience it.
The company says the trainings will let employees share life experiences, and they'll be encouraged to open up about their implicit biases and stereotypes.
How do you define bias?
Professor Tsipursky says employees will need to be convinced that this is about more than company PR.
There needs to be a culture created where employees really buy into this idea. They buy into that it's beneficial for them as individuals, not simply for the company itself, but for them as individuals to avoid discriminatory behaviors.
And the Starbucks training curriculum was developed with input from the NAACP and the Anti-Defamation League. Starbucks says that it will share its materials with the public. Local for you, Ted Hart, NBC4.